Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into well, a pretty heavy topic,
Yeah.
Auschwitz concentration camp. We're using some detailed historical texts to guide us, so
Yeah.
I'm really, really interested to see what we find. Oh, and before I forget,
Oh, yeah.
check out Untold Chronicles on YouTube.
Absolute.
Hit that subscribe button. Well, I think most of us have heard of Auschwitz, but
Right.
to really get it, we got to go deeper than just the name, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, it's more than just a name.
right.
It's a place, it's a history, it's full of stories.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that.
Okay, so before it became like
Yeah.
this symbol of horror, Auschwitz was just a
Yeah.
normal Polish town, right?
Yeah, it was called Auschwitz. And
Yeah.
what's really striking is the Nazis chose it for its location.
Okay.
It was
yeah.
easy to access by rail,
Okay.
and it was a good distance from prying Allied eyes.
So it wasn't like built to be this
Yeah.
death camp from the start.
No, not at all. At first,
I
it was
looked
just
down.
meant to hold Polish resistance members
Okay.
and anyone the Nazis saw as a threat in occupied Poland.
So when?
The first prisoners arrived in May 1940,
Wow.
but things took a very dark turn very quickly.
So that's what I find so fascinating and scary
Mm-hmm.
about this whole period. Like they
Yeah.
had this whole other plan in mind.
They did.
Auschwitz II, Birkenau,
Birkenau.
built in 41.
Right.
And that was like
Yeah. No
ordinary prison.
It was a death factory
Whoa.
designed specifically for the quote-unquote final solution.
So like
The systematic extermination of Jewish people,
the actual
the massive
huge complex with gas chambers
phrase.
capable of killing thousands every single day.
And those rail lines you mentioned,
Oh, yeah.
they played a part in that
At
much.
Mitchell, a gelling roll.
Yeah.
They transported victims from all over occupied Europe.
It's hard to even, with terrifying efficiency.
Comprehend the scale of it all. And there was another camp, too, right?
Yes, there was Auschwitz III,
Monowitz.
Monowitz.
Monowitz served a different purpose,
Okay.
but it was equally brutal.
Oh,
It was
okay.
built near IG Farben factories
Oh, wow.
and essentially supplied the Nazi war machine with slave labor.
So,
Their prisoners were forced to produce
right.
synthetic rubber and other materials
Oh, wow.
under just horrendous conditions.
Yeah.
Their average life expectancy was
Yeah.
just a few months.
So we've got this network of camps,
yeah.
each one with this
Each one with its own specific role
specific role to play
and this horrific machine.
in this horrible machine.
Yes.
But who exactly were the victims sent to Auschwitz?
Well, while the majority were Jewish people
Right.
from all over Nazi-occupied Europe,
Yeah.
the victims of Auschwitz came from diverse backgrounds. Poles, Romani people,
Right.
Soviet prisoners of war.
And anyone considered an enemy of the Nazi state
So it wasn't just Jewish people.
or racially inferior
Right.
or treated?
It's not just the sheer number that's staggering. It's that even the most vulnerable were targeted,
Mhm.
children.
Mhm.
I read about the medical experiments conducted on them, especially by
Yeah.
Dr. Joseph Mengele.
Mengele.
It's just beyond comprehension.
Mengele, known as the Angel of Death.
Yeah,
He embodies the darkest aspects of the Nazi regime.
yeah.
His experiments on twins and other prisoners
Correct.
weren't just random acts of cruelty. They were rooted in the Nazi ideology
Right.
of racial purity and a complete disregard for human life.
So this Nazi ideology, this belief in racial superiority was
Absolutely.
at the heart of it all.
At the heart of it all, they believed in a hierarchy of races,
Wow.
with themselves at the top and
I
Jews,
see.
along with other groups,
Yeah.
deemed inferior and worthy of extermination.
That's just...
This twisted worldview fueled the Holocaust
Yeah.
and the horrors that unfolded at Auschwitz.
Okay, so we've got this network of camps,
Yeah.
this horrific ideology,
Right.
and then the arrival.
The arrival.
What
Yeah.
happens
Imagine the terror
when people first arrived at Auschwitz?
of arriving after days packed into cattle cars,
Oh,
often without food or water.
yeah.
Upon arrival, prisoners faced a process known as selection.
Selection.
SS officers, with a simple gesture,
Wow.
decided your fate.
And those deemed unfit for work were immediately sent.
To the gas chambers,
Oh my God.
disguised as showers.
No.
They were herded into these rooms, locked inside,
It's just
and then Zyklon B gas was released.
unbelievable.
Death was quick,
Wow.
agonizing.
And then the bodies.
The bodies were then taken to the crematoria
Oh, gosh.
and burned, erasing any trace of their existence.
The level of calculated cruelty is just mind-boggling.
It's just...
Even the victims' belongings
Yeah.
were sorted and reused.
Yeah. It's as if they were just objects.
Yeah, it's like they were.
That's exactly the point.
Just things.
Dehumanization
Right.
was a key part of the Nazi system.
Right.
By stripping people of their identities and belongings,
Wow.
they could carry out these unimaginable acts.
That's just chilling.
It's a chilling reminder of the dangers of prejudice
Right.
and how easily people can be reduced to mere statistics.
But even in this unimaginable darkness,
Mm-hmm.
there were instances of resistance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even in the face of just overwhelming odds,
Yeah.
acts of resistance took place.
Like what? What kind of things?
Well, there were underground networks.
Oh, really?
Within the camp, they risked their lives
Yeah.
to smuggle information to the outside world,
So they're trying to get the word out.
trying desperately to expose the truth about Auschwitz.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
And of course,
what about the Sonderkommando?
the Sonderkommando.
Those prisoners forced to work in, like, the heart of the killing machine.
Right in the heart of it.
The crematoria.
The crematoria.
What an impossible position to be in.
Imagine the psychological burden they carried.
Yeah.
Forced to participate in the extermination process.
I can't even imagine.
And yet, they found the strength to resist,
Really?
to destroy one of the gas chambers,
Wow.
striking a blow against their oppressors.
That's incredible.
It tells us something profound about the human capacity for defiance,
Yeah.
even in the darkest of places.
Even in the darkest of places.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the strength that must have taken
It's
to survive even a day in Auschwitz.
hard to fathom.
What factors contributed to survival
Well,
in such a horrific environment?
survival was often a combination of factors.
Okay.
Physical and mental resilience, of course, played a role,
Right, of course.
but also the solidarity among prisoners,
Oh, yeah.
sharing meager rations,
Wow.
offering a word of hope.
So they're supporting each other.
Those small acts of human connection could mean the difference between life and death.
It's amazing how even in those...
And let's not forget the role of luck.
Oh.
Sometimes it simply came down to
Okay.
being in the right place at the right time,
Wow.
or escaping the notice of a particularly cruel guard.
So for those who did survive,
Yeah.
what then?
Yeah.
The trauma,
The trauma.
the scars.
The scars.
How do you even begin to rebuild a life?
It's a question that haunts many survivors.
Yeah.
The psychological impact of surviving such trauma is immeasurable.
Right.
Many survivors faced immense challenges reintegrating into society.
So it's not like it just ends when they're liberated.
No, not at all.
Wow.
They battled with PTSD, guilt,
Right.
the constant shadow of their experiences.
It's a reminder that liberation,
Yeah,
while a joyous occasion,
absolutely.
was only the first step on a long and arduous journey.
The first step.
And then there's the question of justice.
Justice.
How do you even begin to address?
Well, the liberation of Auschwitz by Soviet forces in January 1945
Right.
marked the beginning of a long and complex process of reckoning.
So the world is starting to wake up.
The world was confronted with the full horror of what had happened,
Yeah.
and the pursuit of justice began.
What about the Nuremberg trials?
The Nuremberg trials,
Yeah.
while imperfect,
Right.
were a crucial step in holding the perpetrators accountable
Holding him accountable
for their crime.
for those horrific crimes.
Yes, the trials exposed the horrific details
Right.
of the Nazi regime's actions to the world
The whole world.
and laid the groundwork for international criminal law
Wow.
as we know it today. It was a crucial step.
So that's a
Although some perpetrators escaped justice or received lenient sentences,
So even then there were still
there were still
issues. And Auschwitz itself,
Auschwitz itself,
the site of such unimaginable suffering.
what became of it?
Yeah, what happened?
Almost immediately after the war,
Right.
efforts began to preserve Auschwitz as a memorial.
Wow.
It was a complex undertaking,
Can imagine.
fraught with emotional and political challenges.
Yeah, of course.
But in 1947,
Okay.
the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum was established.
So it wasn't just about preserving the buildings.
No, it was about preserving memory,
Right.
ensuring that the world never forgot the atrocities committed there.
It's become a symbol in our collective memory, hasn't it?
It really has.
A reminder of the depths of human cruelty,
Absolutely.
but also the resilience of the human spirit.
You're absolutely right. And we see this in the countless books,
Yeah.
films,
Yeah.
and works of art
Like what?
that grapple with the legacy of Auschwitz.
Give me an example.
Works like Primo Levi's If This Is a Man,
Oh, yeah.
a harrowing first-hand account of his time in the camp,
Yeah.
and films like Schindler's List,
Of course, a classic.
which brought the horrors of the Holocaust to a wider audience.
Right, to people who might not have otherwise read about it or learned about it.
They serve as powerful reminders,
Uh-huh.
ensuring that these stories continue to be told,
Yeah.
and these lessons are never forgotten.
It's incredible how Auschwitz continues to have such a profound impact
It is.
on our culture and understanding of history.
It's not just a historical event.
It's something that continues to shape our world today.
And that's precisely why it's so important to keep these conversations going.
To keep talking about it.
We have to remember that the forces that led to Auschwitz,
Right.
the prejudice, the hatred, the dehumanization,
Yeah, that's scary.
they haven't vanished.
You think so?
They still exist
Really?
in different forms in our world today.
That's a chilling thought,
It is.
but so important to acknowledge.
We can't just brush this history aside
No.
as something that happened back then.
Right, we have
to learn from it,
learn from it.
actively combat those same forces in our own time.
And that's where remembrance and education play such vital roles.
Absolutely. Events like International Holocaust Remembrance Day,
Right.
observed annually on January 27th,
Right.
help us keep these stories alive,
Keep them alive.
honor the victims, and educate future generations.
It's about understanding the warning signs.
Yes.
Recognizing the dangers of intolerance and discrimination
In all its forms.
in all its forms.
Yeah.
It's about connecting the dots
Connecting the dots.
between the past and the present.
Understanding how historical events like the Holocaust
Right.
can inform our actions and choices today.
And it's also about recognizing the incredible resilience
Yes.
of the human spirit,
Their resilience.
even in the face of unimaginable suffering.
Even in the face.
The stories of resistance,
Yes.
of courage,
The courage.
of survival in Auschwitz.
Yes.
Those are just as important to remember.
Absolutely. Those stories remind us that even in the darkest of times,
Even in the darkest of times.
hope and humanity can endure.
Yeah.
They inspire us to fight for a better world, to stand up against injustice,
Right.
and to strive to create a future where such horrors are never repeated.
It's a heavy topic,
It is.
but it's a conversation we need to have.
We do.
So, what does all this mean for us today?
That's the question, isn't it?
Why should we, in the 21st century,
Yeah.
care about what happened at Auschwitz?
Because the lessons of Auschwitz are timeless.
Timeless.
They speak to the very core of what it means to be human,
Wow.
to the dangers of unchecked power, the
Right.
corrosive effects of prejudice,
Corrosive effects of prejudice.
and the importance of empathy and compassion.
Empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
It's easy to think of Auschwitz as something distant,
It's easy to push it away.
something that happened over there.
Over there,
But the reality is
your reality is,
that the seeds of hatred and intolerance
yeah,
can take root anywhere.
anywhere.
We've seen it throughout history.
Sadly, we have.
Sadly.
We continue to see it today. Think about the rise of nationalism
Oh, yeah.
and xenophobia. Xenophobia, yeah.
In different parts of the world.
Right.
The persecution of minorities.
Yeah, we see
The
it.
resurgence of hate speech and violence
Those are all echoes of
Yeah.
the same dangerous ideologies
that fueled the Holocaust.
that fueled the Holocaust.
Exactly. So remembering Auschwitz isn't just about looking back.
Right. It's about looking forward to.
It's about recognizing the potential for darkness
Oh, yeah.
within ourselves
Within ourselves?
and our societies,
Wow.
and actively working to prevent it.
So what can we do? How do we do that?
It's about understanding that we are all connected,
We're all connected.
that our actions have consequences,
Right.
and that we have a shared responsibility
Shared responsibility.
to create a more just and compassionate world.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And one that I think resonates deeply with everyone who visits Auschwitz
I think so.
or learns about its history.
It's a message that we must carry with us,
Carry with us.
not just on Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Yeah. But every single day.
Every single day.
We must never allow ourselves to become complacent
Complacent.
or indifferent to the suffering of others.
So it's not just about like
it's about
big things, right?
actively challenging
Yeah.
prejudice and discrimination.
We see it.
Whenever and wherever we encounter it.
Right.
It's about speaking out against injustice.
Yeah, when it's hard.
Even when it feels uncomfortable or risky.
Yeah.
It's about educating ourselves and others
Boy.
about the dangers of hatred and intolerance.
Oh,
And
well,
working together to build a world
working together.
where such horrors are never repeated.
It's a big task, but
It is a big task.
it's one that we absolutely must embrace.
We must.
The legacy of Auschwitz demands nothing less.
Nothing limited.
And, as we've discussed, it's not just about grand gestures or political movement.
It can start with small,
Right.
everyday acts of kindness,
Kindness, yeah.
compassion, and understanding.
Give me an example.
A smile to a stranger.
Okay. A helping hand to someone in need.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Speaking up when you hear a prejudiced remark.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
It can be.
But it's important.
These seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect.
They can. They really can.
They can help to create a more welcoming and inclusive environment.
Right.
And challenge those who seek to spread hatred and division.
Challenge the haters.
It's about fostering empathy and understanding
Empathy.
in our everyday interactions.
In our everyday interactions.
Recognizing the humanity in everyone we encounter.
Recognizing the humanity, yeah.
It's about breaking down the barriers that separate us.
Yeah.
And building bridges of understanding and compassion.
Bridges of understanding.
It's about recognizing that our differences
Yeah.
are what make us unique and valuable.
Right, our differences.
Not something to be feared or demonized.
Not something to be demonized.
And it's about remembering that history is not just something that happened in the past.
It's something that shapes our present.
Shapes our present.
And our future.
Wow.
The choices we make today determine the world we will leave for generations to come.
So, as we conclude our deep dive into the history and legacy of Auschwitz,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a question to ponder.
Okay.
How can you, in your own life,
Yeah.
contribute to building a world where such horrors are never repeated?
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves constantly, because the lessons of Auschwitz are not just about the past.
They're about the future.
They are about the future.
They're about the kind of world we want to create.
The kind of people we want to be.
The kind of people we want to be.
And it's a responsibility that we all share.
Well, that was heavy.
It was.
But incredibly important.
It really makes you think.
It does. It really does. And I hope it encourages us all to be a little more mindful.
Yeah.
A little more compassionate.
A little more compassionate.
Absolutely. And if you found this deep dive as thought-provoking as I did, don't forget to check out Untold Chronicles on YouTube.
Absolutely.
They're doing amazing work bringing history to life.
They really are a fantastic resource.
Subscribe to their channel for more fascinating deep dives.
Yes, subscribe.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. And until next time.
Until next time.
Keep asking questions. Keep learning.
Keep learning.
And keep striving to make the world a better place.